class. So we are going over January 2010 geometry questions. All right, so let's get started here. Now, our question is to find the length of TU. That is our question mark. So why don't we call that as maybe A? Given that RS was equal to 30 and XV was equal to 44, all right, the relationship in this case, with given the trapezoid, and then this is the connection between two midpoints, then what we end up getting is this 30 plus 8 over 2. In other words, this 44 has to be the average of those two. Then as we can see, we realize 30 plus 8 by multiplying by 2 on each side, we end up getting 88. And by subtracting 30, then we will realize A must be equal to 58. Therefore, this one must be our answer. Let's move on. Now here we have a question. Triangle ABC, angle A is X, B is this. So these are three angles in the triangle. What is the value of X? So one thing that we get to realize is X plus 2x plus 2 plus 3x plus 4. So when you add up these three angles, it must be equal to 180. Now when you combine the x's, as you can see, I have one here, another one, another one. So when you add up these three kind of x's, we will end up getting 6x and then plus 6. There we have 180. So when you subtract 6 from both sides, and we'll end up getting 6x must be equal to 174. Now when you divide by 6 on each side, you will realize that x must be equal to 29. So therefore our answer will be choice number 1. Alright, number 3. So we have this is the original, and that's the, as you can see, A prime, B prime, C prime. Now it looks like you will end up getting the values by reflection. It's not quite the rotation. It looks like rotation, but one thing that's control this one to be the reflection is the orientation. Let's see. In this first triangle ABC, if you to follow their order ABC in this way, A to B and B to C, and then going back to A, that has happened to be the clockwise orientation. But here, A to B and then B to C prime and C prime to A prime, that's the counterclockwise. You see the orientation has been changed. Therefore, it must be the reflection, especially line reflection. Therefore, choice 2 becomes our answer. Now, number 4. Here we have an angle cut by some sort of an arc. That means this length must be equal to that length. And then trying to cut the equidistant length from here. So this is the classic construction of angle bisectors. These two angles must be equal to each other. Now, which statement must be true? Triangle, angle ABD. ABD. That portion is that the half of angle CBD. CBD. In fact, those two are equal to each other. So therefore, that's not it. ABD, same angle, is that equal to CBD? Yes, it is, because that is the angle bisector construction. And angle ABD, which is the same angle, is that equal to angle ABC? No, that's not equal to each other. And the last one will not also be equal to each other. Alright, let us move on to number 5. Here, what we are looking for is this. The chord gets longer and longer as it gets closer to the center. You see, the biggest chord in the circle will be the diameter. As I can show you briefly, if I have this point connecting to another center right here, this will be very long chord. But if I were to do the other way around, maybe any point to another point, but far away from the uh, center, then we'll end up getting the chords to be smaller. So therefore, closer the chord is to the center, longer it will be. So we realize that chord AB must be the longest because it's closer to it. Now, that means only thing that satisfies is, in fact, choice number 1. So that would be our answer. Now, but the proper way of doing it is we can actually calculate or derive how everything comes about by using the law of cosine, but that will be covered in next year's curriculum. So we're just going to move on using the observation. All right, number 6. Now, isometry here means the same measures. Iso as in the same, and then metry as in measure, same measures. But which one of them is not going to give us the same measures? In fact, the answer will be the dilation, because dilation can make things bigger or smaller. All right, let us keep on moving on. Number 7 here. In the triangle, AB is in fact congruent to BC. That means I'm going to try to draw a triangle. I guess it would be better if it be some sort of an isosceles. So there it goes. We have B is the letter that has been repeated, so I'm going to put down B here, A here, and C here, where these two are equal to each other. Now, an altitude is drawn from B to AC, so we have an altitude. Okay. Now, intersect C, AC at D, so I've named this one as D. Which conclusion is not always true? Now, when you look at it, angle ABD, because this angle is in fact equal to angle CBD, because the altitude in an isosceles triangle also can be the median and also angle bisectors. Alright, so that satisfies the first condition. Angle BDA, in fact that angle is equal to angle BDC, which is also true because altitude, that means they're perpendicular, cutting each other as 90 degree measures. AD is congruent to BD, AD is congruent to B. In fact, that is not, because AD is relatively small. You can kind of easily be able to see it. And BD is an altitude. So, in fact, our answer will be choice C. All right, now, here we have PB is 4. And BC is equal to 5. And find PA. So, in fact, we put it as X. Here we realize when you multiply the tangent I itself, that's equal to outer line segment multiplied by the whole thing. We can derive this formula by using the similar triangles. In fact, so if you have to rewrite it, x squared will be equal to 4 times 4 plus 5, which ends up being 36. So therefore we can easily see that x must be equal to 6 to get to be squared to be equal to 36. And then PA, that is our question. Alright, there it goes, number 6. Now, here, which geometric principle is used to justify the construction? Now, here it looks like a parallel line, but you see that this angle and that angle, we're talking about corresponding angles to be congruent to each other so that it will be a parallel line. Now, only statement that contains the corresponding angles being congruent, therefore those two lines being parallel, it will be choice 4. Now, here if I have to share the formula for the circle, it will be this. Given that the center is h comma k, whatever those values might have been, and then the radius is r. So our expression becomes h minus x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. Now here we gotta have radius being 5, then it has to be one of these two. Now, since the x value is -2, that means x minus -2, therefore it should be +2 squared. Therefore our final choice would be choice 3. Alright, town A and B are 16 miles apart, so one way which we can say this, hey, let's see, this is A here, and B here, and then they are 16 miles apart. Now, how many points are 10 miles from town A? So if you think about it, town A, about this seems to be about halfway, but if it had to be halfway, it would have been about 8 miles. So let me just go for a little bit more. And the other one, 12 miles from B. So not only just coming in half, it's a little bit more than the other one. So therefore, how many points are 10 miles from A, but 12 miles from B? We can say both answers, 2. That would have been our final answer. Now, a line J and K intersect at point P. Now, line M is drawn so that perpendicular to line J and K. In fact, since 2 lines create a plane, what's going to be happening is this. The fact that M has to be perpendicular to these lines, that means perpendicular to the plane. So therefore, we get to realize choice 4 will be our answer. Now here we have the keyword is the parallelogram. That means this side is equal to that. This one is equal to the other one. Now SV is equal to x plus 3. And then VU is equal to 2x minus 1. Now TU becomes 4x minus 3. Then which one of these 3 can be set up to be equal to each other? Because in a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal to each other, so we could say x plus 3 must be equal to 4x minus 3. So if you have to subtract 3 and subtract 4x, you have to realize that -6 must be equal to -3x, where x is equal to 3. That becomes our final answer. Alright, let's move on. Number 14. Parallel. The fact that 2 lines are parallel, that means first slope has to be equal to the second slope. Now, how can they be equal to each other? Let's try to find the slope from here. One easy way for us to do this is converting this equation into y equals mx plus b format here. The b is equal to the slope. M is equal to the slope. So here we're going to add 5x. So 2y is equal to 5x plus 2 plus 10 divided by 2. Y equals 5 over 2x plus 5. And then here what we are looking for is the slope. So therefore our answer will be 5 over 2. Now then, which one of these will give us 5 over 2? In fact, the answer will be choice 3, because as you move this one over to the other side, we get 4y is equal to 10x plus 12. So as you divide by 4, now then y is equal to 5 over 2 x plus 3. So in fact, once again, third one will be our choice. Number 15. Now to find the angle inside CEA, that angle is simply sum of those two divided by 2. In other words, it will be average of those two angles. 35 plus 87 divided by 2. So we end up getting 100 22 over 2, which is equal to 61. So our final answer will be 61. Alright, so let us move on continually to number 16. Here we have, this is the angle 90 degrees. AD is equal to 5 radical 2. And AB is equal to 2 square root of 15. They're asking us to find BD. Now, if you're to write up an expression here, we only thing that we need is a Pythagorean theorem, so we have x squared plus 5 square root of 2, the whole thing squared, and then 2 square root of 15 squared. Now, x squared, we're going to just leave it in this way. Now, here, the square, in fact, will apply to 5 and also to radical 2. So we, in fact, what we end up getting is 5 squared, which is 25 times the square root of 4. We know that to be equal to 2. Now here we have 2 applied to 2, we get 4, and then square root of 15 squared. I'm just going to write it in this way for now. If you have to rewrite it, then x squared will be equal to 2 times 25, we get 50, equals 4 times 15, we end up getting 60. By subtracting 50 from both sides, x squared will be equal to 10. Then x must be equal to square root of 10. That becomes our answer, choice number 1. Alright, distance between these two, we can do the distance formula if you wanted to. Then we end up getting negative 3 minus 1, x2 minus x1 squared, plus 2 minus 0 squared. Then we end up getting negative 4 squared, which is equal to 16, plus 2 squared becomes 4, which ends up getting square root of 20, which when you simplify this one, we get 2 square root of 5. So our final answer will be choice 4. Alright, now, the line is perpendicular to this one. Then how could it be? Perpendicular, that means slope of the first line must be negative reciprocal of slope of the other line. That is perpendicular. So we end up getting slope has to be negation of negative, which is positive, and then reciprocal of 3, so we get 1/3. So we have one of these two to be our answers. Now, but it has to contain 3 comma negative 1, so when you plug in 3 here, this wouldn't be negative 1, but this one will. So therefore, choice 4 would have been our answer. Alright, here, we're trying to see if how these triangles can be similar. Triangle PST, PST, this portion, and then QRQT, RQT. So since we realize that these are straight lines, we know one pair of angles are equal to each other. PS is parallel to QR. That means we could actually have this angle to be equal to the other angle by the alternate interior angles being congruent in parallel lines. Oh, I guess we've done already, because by the AA method, these two triangles must be similar to each other. Number 20. As we have done this one before, when you read off from the equation, we realize the center is 2. We got to get to something, a negation of this expression, and minus 4. And then the radius is square root of 4, which is 2. That is the information we need. So 2 comma negative 4. I believe this is 1, and this is 1. And then radius has to be 2, so this one seems to be radius being equal to 2. This one seems to be a bit too much. So therefore, I'm going to pick choice 2 as our answer. Now, this is a classic example where BCD exterior angle is 6x plus 2. Now, BAC, which is this one, 3x plus 15. And then ABC, that angle is equal to 2x minus 1. Now we have to realize that the exterior angle is sum of two non-adjacent angles, meaning 6x plus 2 will be equal to 3x plus 15, and then plus 2x minus 1. And when you simplify this one, we get 6x plus 2, which is equal to 5x plus 14. By subtracting 5x from each side, we get x. By subtracting 2 from each side, we get x equals 12. And there it goes, right here. Now, when two triangles are similar, and in a way that the sides are in proportion, one thing that we get to realize is this angle can never be in proportion. Not true. Angle has to be congruent to each other. That's one thing that we get to realize. Alright, here, the concept that's embedded in this one is that when you add up all the exterior angles, such as these two, x, and this one, and this one, when you add up all this, all the exterior angles, then their sum must be equal to 360. Now, we have all the angles except this one. Since this one is 140, this one must be 40 to make that into 180. And when you add up all the angles, we have x plus 40 plus 60 plus 84 plus 68 must be equal to 360. That's what we end up getting. So here we have 100, 240, 252, x plus 252. Therefore, by subtracting 252 from each side, x will be equal to 108. Therefore, our final answer will be choice 3. Now, through a point P on a plane, how many lines can be drawn that are perpendicular to plane? Now, perpendicular to plane, but it has to go through one particular point. So there's only one way for you to put the perpendicular line. That's as if you had to put your finger onto the computer screen right now, then you will end up drawing a line that is perpendicular to the plane. Now, but if that point is P, then there's only one location, therefore we could only draw one such line, which is choice 1. Now, slope of this line that is perpendicular. Now then, what we have to do is try to solve for y equals mx plus b format. In order for us to do that, we will subtract 3x, then we get 4y is equal to negative 3x plus 15. Now, as you divide by 4, you will end up getting y equals negative 3 over 4x plus 15 over 4. Here we realize this one is the slope, but we're looking for something perpendicular, so it has to be positive, meaning this one and this one is to be reciprocal of 4 over 3, which would mean that to be our answer. Now, we have this point. Composition. We can actually do this one at a time. On the graph paper. But here, if you have to remember the rule, if we have a comma b, and then going through the reflection of x equals y over y equals x, the same thing, then we will simply have to switch these two. B comma a. Now, on the other hand, a comma b goes through the rotation of 90 degrees. That means we have to switch them, b comma a, positive a, and then negation. Negative sign will be attached in the front. So in other words, when you have 4 comma 2, first thing which you have to do is going through from right to left reflection. So that becomes our 2 comma 4. That becomes our first intermediate solution, but it has to go through the 90 degree rotation. That means we have to switch them. So we get 4 comma 2, but negated with the first value, which is negative 4 comma 2, which is choice 1. All right. Now, the volume is once again, base area times the height. What is the base area? Base area is a 16 being the diameter, therefore radius seems to be 6. Using that, the base area will be pi 6 squared times h will be 27. And that seems to be a big number, but that's basically what we end up getting. Okay? Now, then chances are that I believe your answer will be somewhere along this line. Alright, number 28. Inverse simply means negate each statement. So since there's already not, get rid of that. Not, get rid of that. That's all we have to do in case of inverse. So if two triangles are similar, their corresponding angles are congruent. No. It seems like the third one seems to be our choice. If two triangles are similar, their corresponding angles are also congruent. All right. Basically taking away the not signs. All right. All right. So let us move on to the part 2 here in triangle RST. So let us try to draw any triangle for that matter. So I'm just gonna pick something here. All right. RS and ST, they are equal to each other. So why don't I put down S right here, and then R I can put it here, and then T can be given in this way. Angle RST is 46. Okay, oops. They don't look like it. They don't look like it, but what if you assume that angle S here is the 46? And then once again we realize that this angle is this side is equal to that side. That means if this is X, this also must be X too. Find the measure of STR. STR, that means finding the X. Once again we realize that 46 plus 2x must be equal to 180. Now by subtracting 46, we get 2x is equal to 134. And dividing everything by 2, we get x must be equal to 67. Yes. Therefore, 67 degrees will be our final answer. Alright. Tim has a rectangular prism with a length of 10 meters and width of 2 centimeters and unknown height. Now, so here we have rectangular prism, so let's try to get some sort of things like that. So here we have, let us say the length is 10, and then the width is 2. Height we have no idea, so we're going to call it h. Now he needs to build another rectangular prism with length of 5, and then same height and same as the original prism. Now then here, if I have to just there's another one here, but we have the length of 5, and this is still h, and this one is still 2. Now, the volume of the two prisms will be the same. Okay? Now, he needs to build another rectangular prism. So here we have 5 and then h, but in fact, I made a silly mistake. We don't have 2 here. So why don't we just call that as W? The volume of these two things are equal to each other. That means the volume of the rectangular prism will be length times width times height. So here we have volumes is 10 times 2 times h, which here also is equal to 5 times w times h. Now when you try to calculate this one, we get h just cancels out by dividing it by h. So it's 5 cancels out here, becomes 2. Then w will be equal to 4. That becomes our final answer. Alright, here we have, this is the center, and that is 1 point. Then find and state the coordinate of point R here. That means this one works like a midpoint. Yes, we can use the midpoint formula, such as 1 plus x, I have no idea what this one is, over 2 is equal to 3.5. If you to use this strategy, then we'll end up getting 1 plus x must be equal to 7, and x must be equal to 6. Now, second one. But in case of y, another way of looking at it is 8 became 2, that means you subtract the 6. You can subtract 6 from 2, then we'll get y value will be negative 4. Either way is fine. Then r will be equal to 6 comma negative 4. That becomes our final answer. Alright, equilateral triangle. Now then what I'm going to do is this. So I'm going to bring this one over. And then, so where's this one? One more time. Then we get to realize that there's a intersection. So what we have to do now is this, bring this one over. So I'm going to get a ruler. So if I have a marker, okay, and then connect it this way. Okay, there it goes. So with that, we constructed the equilateral triangle with line segment AB. Alright, next. Here we have AE is 3, and then ED is equal to 6. Now, DC is equal to 15, and then let's find EB, that's the question mark X. Now, but if you look at the proportion, one thing that they want to look at is 3 to 6, but in fact it's not 3 to 6, it will be 3 to the whole thing, which is 9. And here, that ratio, 3 to 9, that must be the same as x over 15, because x is a small portion and 15 is from the big circle, a big triangle. So we end up getting, by cross multiplication, that's what we end up getting, where x now then is equal to 5. Alright. Which is equal to EB is equal to 5. Now number 34. Here we have find TD. Since the ratio is 2x to x, what we can do is this. 2x plus x must be equal to 9, where 3x equals 9, x equals 3. Now find the value of TD. Since x only represents BD, so TD will be 2 times of that, which is 6. That is our final answer. Alright, now Km used to be 5 units, but the transformation of D2 is performed, meaning the dilation is performed to form this one. Find the measure of the angle K. Now dilation produces similar triangles. So therefore, angle doesn't change. Measure of angle K prime right here. Measure of angle K prime will still be equal to 36 degrees. Now, but the length will be 2 times, which is 10, because dilation is not isometry. So therefore, when you multiply by 2, meaning the dilation by 2, then even the length will be increased by 2, double. Now, number 36. We have this one as a parallelogram. For this question, I'm just going to explain. I'm not going to write down step by step. I'll do that in another exam. Here we have JN, which is this one, is congruent to LN. Now, it's a parallelogram given the LMN. LMN. That angle must be congruent to LNM. That angle. Now we need to show that this is a rhombus. In order for us to show that this is rhombus, one thing that we get to realize is this. Since this is an isosceles triangle, this side must be equal to that side. But wait a minute, this side is equal to this one already. By the chain rule, then we get to realize that opposite sides are equal because it's a parallelogram. Opposite sides are equal, then all sides are equal to each other, which is the definition of a rhombus. So there it goes. Number 7. Now, equidistance from both x and y. So then, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to assume that this is x-axis. That's the y-axis. All right, now, equidistance between x and y simply means somewhere in the middle, so such as this one. So therefore, so that's basically what's happening here. Now, same thing on the other side also. So these green dotted lines are the collection locus of points that are equidistant from x and y. But we're looking for also locus of points that are 5 units from the origin. That means I'm going to have the circle 5 units. So therefore, and then put an X mark. That's right there. That's right there. That's right there. So 4 places will be great. Now, with that, we finished January 2010. Stay tuned. We will continue to go over other exams from Geometry Regents.